Stakeholders Relations Committee. Members of the committee, could you please identify yourselves?
Tom Berger.
Other members, could you please identify yourself?
Lori Mizgorski.
Jen Liptak.
Emma Shukare.
Joe Totten.
Allie Doyle.
The minutes from the last committee meeting has been circulated. Unless there's any questions or corrections, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the minutes. Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Can you guys hear me in the virtual world?
Aye.
Yes, I.
Thank you.
Aye.
Motion passed. Next, Transit Downtown P3 related services planning updates. Amy Probashaw will be giving.
Hi, thanks. Okay. We all ready with the? Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Provancha, Manager of Service Development. I'm here to share some updates on the implementation of Next Transit Downtown and the P3 University Line route plan. As a reminder, the Next Transit Downtown study was called for in PRT's long-range transportation plan called Next Transit, which was adopted in 2021. Next Transit Downtown focused on updating the routing for improved service reliability, simplicity, efficiency, safety, and also improving transit amenities and wayfinding. The streamlined route plan will complement the University Line project and reduce delay of routes through downtown. New amenities and improved wayfinding are planned. This map reflects a simplified routing loops planned, and the logic of the routing loops are based on the direction that the routes enter and exit downtown. There has been one revision from last summer's proposal impacting the 50 series routes due to the inability of our buses to make a turn from Liberty Avenue to Stanwix Avenue. So we've updated the plan for routes 56, 57, 58, 52L, and 53L coming into downtown on Boulevard of the Allies to now take a right on Wood Street, a right on Forbes Ave, a right on Smithfield, and then left back onto Boulevard of the Allies going back out of downtown. This rerouting still fits within the overall Next Transit Downtown Simplified Loop logic as it mirrors the Y routes loop and would take advantage of transit amenities and wayfinding already planned along those corridors. PRT has implemented many of the Next Transit Downtown routing loop changes that didn't require new infrastructure through regular service picks over the past years. In October 2023, routes 65 and 77 were rerouted using the Gateway Loop with the support of DOMI, providing the space there for PRT's bus layover needs. In February 2024, several routes were implemented, including the 2, 6, 12, 15, 26, 27, 29, 31, 67, 69, G3, and G31. In June 2024, the routing loop, the 05 routing loop was implemented. Last month, through the October 2024 service pick, routes 7, 19L, P12, P16, and P67 were implemented. The next steps include determining which additional Next Transit Downtown routing changes can be implemented at the June 2025 service pick. Many of the remaining Next Transit Downtown changes are dependent on infrastructure projects being completed. So we are coordinating internally on that. Finally, I just wanted to touch on how PRT's bus line redesign efforts would impact the Next Transit Downtown routings in the future. So bus line redesign, as a reminder, is another project called for in PRT's Next Transit Long Range Plan, and it comprehensively redesigns the entire bus network. Bus line redesign has incorporated the same downtown routing logic from the Next Transit downtown effort with the same simplified loop patterns based on the direction that groups of routes enter and exit downtown. So bus line redesign will not change this logic, but it may change the total number of routes using each loop. Okay, so now pivoting to provide an update on the P3 University Line route plan. So originally the plan called for shortening the routing to operate between downtown and Wilkinsburg, where PRT is installing the electric bus charging infrastructure. This provided an extension to the route on its downtown end, but shortened the route on its outer end where it had fewer riders. During our open comment period and hearings for this service change, we received numerous requests from riders to maintain the P3 routing all the way to Swissvale Station. So we promise to take another look at the plan. Our updated plan enables us to commit to at least every other P3 trip running all the way to Swissvale Station. And during AM and PM peak hours, there will be extra trips between Swissvale and downtown. This plan balances PRT's need to recharge our electric buses at Wilkinsburg Station, and it serves riders who need to travel between Swissvale to downtown on the P3. So we've not yet finalized when the routing plans for the P3 will change, but we will be sure to communicate this with the community well in advance of that time. And that's it for me. Any questions? Thank you.
Any questions? Thanks, Amy. Oh, next we do have Amy, and I apologize for saying your name. The 2024 rail work recaps and for 2025 planned rail work. Amy.
Thank you, and good morning, board committee and board members and everyone else. I'm Amy Silverman. I'm the Chief Development Officer here. I'm going to provide a brief update on our rail work from the past year, as well as some upcoming projects we have over specifically in 2025, but for years to come. I will note first that we hosted a public meeting on this topic last night that had a lot more detail than I'm going to go over today. So I'm going to keep today's discussion high level, but we did record last night's meeting and we are putting it on our website today. So if anyone missed our meeting last night and wants to dig more into detail about every route that is going to be impacted in 2025 by some of our work, we encourage you to do so. So a recap and reminder, we began speaking publicly about this 5-year rail investment program last spring in advance of several projects that we conducted last summer. But we have been and will continue to be working both behind the scenes and in the front scenes with many projects focused on state of good repair and capital improvement of our aging rail infrastructure. So on the slide here, list out several of the projects that we completed or are continuing to work on that we began with our stage 1 series of projects and our stage 2 series of projects, which were focused on the red line. Stage 3 is, I'll talk a bit about today, which moves us into 2025 and 2026, and then finally stage 4, moving us all the way into 2028. So this 5-year rail program is becoming more, like a 6 or 7-year rail program, and this is an ongoing thing that we're doing, but trying to package that in a simple way for the public to understand. So what did we complete in 2024? We had a very large phase of our Flint replacement project, which is in the central business district in the downtown subway. The Flint is the concrete that our rails rest on. We had a 2-month closure of part of downtown's subway system in order to conduct that work. And we still have a little bit more to do with that. We did successfully move through that phase. We also had our red line closure, which I know was a significant impact to many, but we were able to successfully complete 5 different projects at an overall value of about $20 million with one larger closure to reduce confusion and ongoing impact to our riders. So that was a very successful project from a construction and passenger awareness and information sharing perspective. We also are just finishing up now a project with 18 different light rail stations around the system, freshening them up, repairing concrete, freshening paint and railings and other things like that that were sorely needed at many of our rail stations. And then we replaced our Mount Lebanon tunnel fans as well in this past year. There are a couple images on this slide that give examples of some of the station work, as well as some of the work with the red line, which was more focused on the rails themselves and areas where the rail crosses over public roads. So in 2025, we have what we hope is the last two phases of our downtown plinth replacement project. And so we will have about 2-month period of time where part of the downtown subway will again be closed. There's an image on the slide that shows what that plinth is. So again, that's the concrete that's supporting the rail in our subway. And I'll talk in a minute about what service will do in response to that replacement. So this will be broken into 2 phases. The first phase will start on January 2nd. During the phase on January 2nd, the light rail routes, all of them from the South Hills, will only come as far north as First Avenue Station, which is our first light rail station in the downtown Central Business District. From there, riders who are continuing further into downtown at a distance that's farther than they're able to walk or roll, or if they're headed over to the North Shore, will take a bus shuttle that will connect riders from First Avenue Station to Steel Plaza Station. And then at Steel Plaza Station, riders will again be able to get back on the light rail system and ride at the last 4 stations to wherever their likely destination is. And then that would be the same in the reverse direction too, if you're heading back south out of downtown. Phase B will begin likely in early February. So we don't have an exact date of that. That will depend on the construction project progress as we go, but likely in early February, we will switch to phase B. Phase B, the light rail will come a little bit farther north again from the South Hill. So riders will be able to get past First Avenue Station and to Steel Plaza Station. And then the light rail will actually continue further north to Penn Station, which is connected to our Martin Luther King Jr. East Busway. That is not a normally serviced light rail station. This was the service plan that we had in place last April and May when we had the Plinth closure. So riders will be able to get to the or Penn, and then at Penn Station, if they need to get to the North Shore or to Wood Street or Gateway stations, they will board a bus shuttle that will take them from Penn Station along Liberty Avenue to Wood Street and Gateway stations. And then at Gateway Station, they can then reboard the light rail system to take them to the North Shore, to either of the stations there. And then we believe this work will wrap up by early March. Again, exact date will be determined as construction progresses. But we are going to try and wrap it as quickly and safely as we possibly can, because the next project that is happening is going to start on February 23rd. So we're trying to avoid overlap as much as possible, but there will likely be at least a few days of overlap between these 2 projects. The second project here for 2025, also a very critical one, is the Mount Washington Transit Tunnel rail replacement. So the Mount Washington Transit Tunnel is the tunnel that is at the end of Smithfield Street, at the other side of the Smithfield Street Bridge. If you're leaving downtown headed south, there's a tunnel there that carries both light rail and our buses through Mount Washington and connects to South Hills Junction and then to all of our services in the South Hills on the rail system, as well as our South Busway for our buses. This tunnel is in need of several replacement and repair components. So we are going to close the tunnel and get everything done all at one time. So again, trying to keep that spirit of less disruption to riders and trying to bundle as much work as we can. We have a very robust state of good repair need. That need will continue over the next foreseeable future number of years. And so we're trying to find ways to make sure that we are being as least disruptive to our riders as possible, but there will be impacts. So this will be an 8-month closure beginning on Sunday, February 23rd, and heading into October. We'll make sure to provide an exact date when we get a little bit further into 2025 and see how that construction goes. It's about a $26 million state of good repair project, and includes replacement of our embedded track that is in the tunnel for the light rail to run on, the overhead catenary wires that run the light rail, the concrete pavement that the buses and other vehicles traversing the tunnel move on, as well as tunnel drainage. And then we will also, while the tunnel is closed, be repairing the electrical duct banks and the tunnel liner. So trying to get done as much as we can, because this is a significant impact to riders. We want to make sure that we are thinking ahead and not having to close this tunnel again in the near future after this project. So how will people get around during this tunnel closure? So for light rail riders, all light rail routes will run up and over Mount Washington via our tracks through Allentown. Those run along Warrington Avenue and then Arlington Avenue before connecting to our light rail bridge, the Panhandle Bridge, to take riders into downtown Pittsburgh. This is approximately a 7 to 8 minute additional travel time for riders. And the Station Square station will not be served by those routes. It will be served only by our subway local route, which is already in place today and will continue to remain in place in 2025. So if you're going to Station Square from the South Hills, you would need to ride to First Avenue Station, get off the light rail at First Avenue Station, and then take the subway local route across the river to Station Square. The Silver Line during this 8-month tunnel closure during rush hour will not run to downtown. It will only run to Washington Junction. And so that is because we have some significant electrical load challenges with the hill that carries our light rail up into Allentown and over Mount Washington. So wanting to make sure we're not overburdening that electrical load, as well as being cognizant of traffic and other things on Arlington Avenue through that neighborhood. During peak hours, the Silver Line will only operate to Washington Junction. Riders will be able to connect to the Blue Line trains at Washington Junction, and we will build the schedule such that when riders arrive at Washington Junction from one train, the next train is ready for them and will depart many minutes later in both directions. We are also going to be adding one light rail stop in Allentown at Allen Street. That's the corner of Warrington Avenue at Allen Street. For those that live in the Allentown neighborhood, they will have lots of trains coming through their neighborhood during this time, and we wanted to be cognizant that is a change for them. And therefore, if there was any convenience to be provided by allowing them one place to get on or off the light rail, that they would be able to do so there. We didn't want to add more than one stop because we're already inconveniencing all the riders that have to go up and over by that longer trip. So we didn't want to slow riders down too much, but did want to provide that one opportunity. I will note that that stop will not be ADA compliant. Our 2 regular bus routes on Warrington Avenue will continue to operate their normal service on Warrington Avenue. And they do have ADA compliant bus stops there. But the T stops, they will have to use those steps at the front of the light rail car to get on and off that street, which are not ADA. Here's just a picture of the intersection of East Warrington Avenue at Allen Street, where we will add those light rail stops. And we'll make sure to add a sign there too that warns any riders that those stops are not ADA compliant if you're getting on light rail, and to use the 2 bus routes, the 43 and the 48, if you do need the ramp or if you need the bus to kneel. Smaller step. Actually, let me back up one second. Buses. Buses. So we also have 10 bus routes that use the Mount Washington Transit Tunnel. And so generally, they will also be detouring up and over Mount Washington in a slightly a variety of ways, but most of them will run inbound the same way that the light rail is running inbound. So that is East Warrington Avenue to Arlington Avenue to Carson Street to Smithfield Street Bridge. Outbound, they will not be running up and over Mount Washington through Allentown. Outbound, they will traverse across the Smithfield Street Bridge and then turn right onto Carson Street and then turn left into our Wabash Tunnel. The Wabash Tunnel will be running outbound only for the entirety of this 8-month closure. Today, this is a roadway tunnel for anyone to use that changes direction by time of day, but we will be setting it to an outbound only configuration for the duration of this closure so that all of our buses can use it outbound. So they will use the Wabash Tunnel and then they will turn onto Sawmill Run Boulevard, which is Route 51, before connecting back to South Hills Junction. There are a couple of slight exceptions of that. So we do have all that information on all 10 routes on the public meeting video from last night that will be posted to our website today. The 51L is probably the biggest exception to that. It runs inbound on Arlington Avenue today, so we will be operating it both inbound and outbound on Arlington Avenue during this closure so that those riders have a more direct.
Hi, we need to switch interpreters. Can we switch the spotlight, please?
If you're.
Are there any questions that I can answer now? The light rail projects, programs, or detours?
Any questions from the committee members? Any questions from the other board members?
I just realized I did not explicitly say this, but all of those detours will be built into schedules. So riders will have paper and online schedules to know exactly when their trains and buses are coming. So do change the times on those schedules. And they will be able to be seen in real time as well, which will be, very helpful for riders.
And you said that was a completely realize it will be posted, what's going to be over your overall, you want to influence.
So yeah, it was a well-attended meeting, so we're happy to have so many folks join us. We had a variety of questions about some of these projects as well as projects that are not on this list or other areas of the light rail system that people are asking about investment in. We did have a lot of riders from the Allentown neighborhood join us. So I think there is concern from some of them about the added noise, vibration, and traffic that come from our light rail serving a neighborhood that does not normally have light rail, running through it. So we were, happy to have their participation and hear those concerns. Unfortunately, this is a safety critical project for us, so we do have to close the tunnel. We trying to think ahead for projects like this so that we don't have emergency closures. Some of you may have heard we needed to close the library line yesterday for some emergency repairs. So the more that we can get ahead of some of this state of the repair work, we can avoid emergency closures that then, result in sometimes more confusion to our riders or a little bit more scrambling on our end. So wanting to make sure we are not deferring maintenance so long that we have to have this emergency closures. And our Mount Washington Transit Tunnel is getting to that point. If we don't do this work, we will be entering a state where we would need to do more emergency closures.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Next, we're gonna have Sue Broadus come up and talk about the disadvantaged business and Broadus, the first business program. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, board members. Good morning, senior staff and everyone else. Thank you for the opportunity for me to be able to give you a brief overview of the functions of my office. My name is Sue Broadus, and I am the director of the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise and Diverse Business Program. I put to the right?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the DBE program? The Disadvantaged Business Program is a U.S. Department of Transportation program that helps ensure that socially and economically disadvantaged firms have an equal opportunity to participate on federally funded projects. The program was established by U.S. Congress in 1982, and this program is governed by the federal regulations Title 49, Code of Federal Regulations, Part 26 and Part 23, better known as 49 CFR, Part 26 and 23. Today, we're going to cover a brief overview of the DBE and diverse business criteria, certification, the DBE and DB processes, compliance, and our public outreach, current and future. What is a DBE? A DBE is a for-profit small business that must be at least 51% owned and controlled by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. And those socially and economically disadvantaged individuals must be a U.S. citizen or a lawfully admitted permanent residence. The government regulations define the socially disadvantaged ethnic groups of Black American, Hispanic American, Native American, Asian Pacific Americans, subcontinent Asian Americans, women, and then groups designated as such by the U.S. Small Business Administration. Economically disadvantaged means that the applicant's personal net worth cannot exceed $2.047 million with the exclusion of their primary residence and their ownership interest in the applicant firm. It also means that the applicant firm's gross average receipts over a 5-year period cannot exceed $30.72 million in gross annual receipts. Please note that that figure is for DBEs, ACDBEs, which are airport concession disadvantaged business enterprises that are working on the airports. Their threshold is $56.42 million for the gross average receipts for 5-year period. The PAUCP, the Unified Certification Program, was established in March of 1999, and it was mandated that every state in the United States would have a unified certification program. This requirement was put into place to provide a single place for firms that were interested and wishing to apply for certification as a DBE and or ACDBE. At one time, we used to have to go to multiple agencies for certifications, and this eliminated that. One PRT is one of the 5 certifying agencies for the PAUCP, and there are 4 others, PennDOT, SEPTA, the City of Philadelphia International Airport, and Allegheny County Department of Equity and Inclusion. Once a firm is approved by any one of those 5 certifying agencies, they are approved by all. What is a diverse business? A diverse business is a DBE, a minority-owned business, a woman-owned business, a service-disabled veteran-owned business, or a veteran-owned business. The acceptable certifications for DBE certification would be the PAUCP DBE cert, or the firm must be registered with Pennsylvania Department of General Services as a small diverse business, SDB, or VBE. Please note that firms that are certified as a small business enterprise cannot be counted towards our diverse business goals. Now that I've given you a brief overview of the DBE program, we will get into the certification. My office is responsible. As I stated, we are one of the 5 certifying agencies for the PAUCP that does the certification of firms wishing to be certified as DBEs or ACDBEs. That involves processing the new applications, as well as those firms that are out of state that wish to do the interstate application process, which is a much shorter process due to the fact that each UCP follows the same governing regulations of 49 CFR Part 26. The nice thing about certification is that it does not expire. However, each firm that is certified, if they wish to maintain their eligibility, they have to do an annual declaration of eligibility each year and provide a copy of their latest business tax returns to ensure that they still fall under the respective 30.72 million threshold over the 5 years. We also process any notice of changes if there's been any changes to the business, perhaps in ownership, shares of ownership, officers. Then they need to notify the respective certifying agency that maintains their certification file within 30 days of those changes. And we have to evaluate the documentation to ensure that that firm continues to meet the eligibility criteria to remain certified as a DBE. And then there's also the modification request. Once a firm is approved certification, especially during the time of COVID, a lot of the firms had to pivot the services they were providing. So that we will evaluate modification requests to current certifications to ensure that those firms that are requesting these changes can actually perform the services and we'll do the review and approval. This slide here just is a basic stats. In 2019, we started tracking the statistics for the number of certified firms that PRT maintained. At that time, we had 152 firms. As a result of our outreach and reaching out to potential firms for certification. As of October 2024, we have 209 of the certified firms files that we maintain here, which was an increase of 37.5% increase. As of this year, 2024, year to date, we have received 31 new apps. This is just a slight breakdown of the 207 firms that 209 firms that we currently have, broken down by gender and minority. So 91 of the 209 are MBE firms. And that MBE is also inclusive of minority women as well. And then we have 118 women-owned businesses out of the 209. The next slide here is the breakdown of the ethnicity, again, based on the 49 CFR categories for the ethnic races. And this is just the breakdown of the categories of our firms that we are maintaining. This slide here is just a slight statistics of our certification activities for 2024. And this is just through October. We have conducted 30 one-on-one certification counseling appointments with firms that are seeking assistance in applying for certification. We have found that us offering this service to the firms takes away the overwhelming feeling or the frustrations that we have encountered, and it's been expressed to us that the reason why a lot of the firms won't apply for certification. So once we sit down with the individuals and answer their questions, they go ahead and complete the process of certification. And then we've also conducted 75 on-site reviews, and these are for new applicants as well as our current certified firms, because we at PAUCP oversight have stated that every 6 years, all of our agencies will conduct on-site updates of our respective firms. So now that the firms are certified, they are now eligible to participate in our state and our federal funded projects. So this section here, I'm going to review our DBE and diverse business processes as far as our office and our involvement. So the first what we will discuss will be requests for proposals, RFPs, the construction project, and then small purchases, which are purchases under $10,000. So as you will see on the screen, please note that for federally funded and state funded, the processes are exactly the same, with the exception of for federally funded projects, that the federally funded projects will have a DBE goal that I will determine what that goal will be upon review of the scope of services. And then the second difference is the terminology. DBE is for federal funded projects and DB is for state funded. So going through the RFP process, our office would be involved in establishing the DBE goal for that particular RFP, if it is going to be federally funded. Then we will set the rank and weight for the DBE or DB utilization, which is part of the ranking criteria for the RFP process. Then we will provide procurement with a list of potential DBEs or diverse businesses to invite, to send an invitation to bid. Then we will discuss at the information meeting the requirements for DBE or diverse business requirements for that particular RFP, depending on what the project is again. And then after the meeting, we will provide to all attendees a list of the certified DBEs and diverse businesses and all of the potential subcontracted opportunities that we have identified. And we will provide that list to procurement to send out as part of the addendum, which is the minutes of the information meeting. So there is no excuse why the prime contractors can say, I was not able to identify any firms, because that list is actually being provided to all those attendees. And we have found that has helped with the attainment of the goals. Again, now as far as the compliance portion of the RFP, the processes will be the same regardless of how this is funded. We will discuss the DB participation at the PRT preliminary ranking meetings. As many of you are probably not aware, my office sits on every single RFP because we are evaluating the DBE or diverse business agent for each of those RFPs, and then we are making our recommendations after we've read those proposals to the committee. Then we will track the contract activities. We track the prime and subcontractor awards to ensure that the primes are indeed utilizing the firms, the subcontractors that they have identified and committed to for that particular project. And we also are tracking the prime and the subcontractors' payments to ensure that the subs are getting paid within 15 days of the prime's payment receipts. And then we are also verifying the information on the DBE or diverse business utilization verification form that is submitted on each pay estimate to ensure that, yes, indeed, that this firm did get paid this amount, and yes, they actually did perform this work and in what capacity. Now we'll get into the same for the construction projects. Basically, the processes, again, are going to be the same with distinct differences. Once again, if it's federally funded, there will be a DBE goal that is set per project, which my office will review the scope of services to see whether or not there are subcontracting opportunities and the availability of certified firms to determine what that goal will be. And I will set that goal based on the opportunities that we have identified within that scope. And then the processes, again, are all the same. We provide procurement on this potential certified firms to send an invitation to bid as a private contractor. We also discuss the DBE or DB requirements at the pre-bid meetings. We provide the DBE subcontractor list, which again is included with the pre-bid meeting minutes that is sent out as an addendum by the procurement departments. And then we also evaluate once the lowest bidder has been identified, we will evaluate their submitted DBE participation plans to ensure that the firms that they have identified are actually have been contacted to, that the amount that has been identified is the same amount that was discussed, and that they are performing in the capacity that they are certified to work. Then we continue to track the contract activities again, monitoring the prime and subcontractor awards. The prime and subcontractor payments again for verifications of payments to the subcontractors in a timely manner. And then also the utilization reports that are submitted for the construction projects. Are there any questions at this time?
The subcommittee members, any questions? Board members? Any questions?
Okay. So then now we're going to go into the small purchases. These are the contracts that are under $10,000 that do not need to be bid out. We have identified that this is a good area where a lot of the certified DBEs and DBs can be utilized. And we are currently promoting our efforts and to expand the utilization of DBE firms. We have gotten several requests from various departments asking for particular areas of works, for example, caterers, a list of caterers. Well, that's not a contract item, and it's a small item, $10,000. We provide the list so that they can reach out and afford these various companies opportunities. We also have been identifying firms that can provide promotional items, because we always have stuff available when we're doing our outreach. That we also been utilizing firms for our printing of our brochures, because there are many certified firms that can provide that service. Videography, we have certified firms that can do the videos. So we are trying to identify all potential areas, multiple potential areas, and encouraging the various departments to reach out to us if they need assistance in identifying firms. So then this chart here is just a list of our statistics related to our contract compliance. As you can see, my office has been very, very busy. We have evaluations of DBE and DBE participation plans. We did 3 for construction contracts, 110 for work orders. We reviewed 56 professional service RFPs. We've tracked 856 payments into our PRT system, payment system. We've reached out and sent out payment verifications to our subs for 67 of them to ensure that they are getting paid in a timely manner. We've reviewed and asked for verifications for 212 DB utilization forms. We've participated in 57 project-related meetings, so we've been quite busy. Are there any questions so far? Okay, continuing on. Another function as far as our compliance, we are responsible for setting our training vehicles. Not only do we establish individual project goals for our federally funded projects, we also every 3 years are responsible for submitting our training vehicles that are set every 3 years. Our fiscal 2024 through 2026 training vehicle that was submitted to the FTA is 12.83%. I'm sorry, we can back up. So how do we determine the DBE goals? So the engineering team is going to provide my office with the proposed projects that are projected for the next 3 years. Then we are going to look at the various line items for the subcontracting opportunities that are available that we can identify firms that are certified firms that can provide those services that we calculate based on the dollar line items, the percentage of that ready, willing, and available certified firms to the overall total firms and come up with a percentage, and then we do the calculations. And that is how we determine what the goal is going to be for each of those identified projects. But then that's for the overall triennial bill. But then, as I stated earlier, for our individual federal projects, those are set individually. And we'll look at each and every one of those to ensure is there enough work? Is there enough DBEs in this respective area to set an individual project goal as well? Okay.
I have a question.
Certainly.
As it relates to governmental companies, women-owned companies, is the percentage more than percentage more members?
For DBE participation, I would say, yeah, the DBE, the goals that have DBE, the projects that have DBE goals are usually higher than the ones that are state funded, because the state funded projects, I cannot set a goal on. It's all based on the bid numbers. While they are still required to identify subcontracting opportunities and utilizing the DBEs, there's no hard line figure given to them.
So if a veteran-owned company is in the system, how do you break that as how much percentage or do you review?
That's included as part of the DBE.
Overall?
Overall,
Okay.
yes, yes, yes. So I'm happy to say, as I stated before, our fiscal year triennial goal is 12.83%, and I'm happy to report that we have exceeded that with the award of our PRT 002 Downtown Loop project, as well as the 001 project, because each of those projects had an overall DB goal of 23.43%. We have exceeded that established goal. Okay, so not only do we do the triennial goal to the FTA, we also are responsible for reporting to the to Allegheny County, as well as to the FTA, which we do on a semi-annual basis for our federally funded projects. And then we're also responsible for reporting to PennDOT annually for our state. And then we are required to update our DB program plan as required. And as many are aware that our governing regulations were recently just updated the U.S. Department of Transportation. So as part of that, we are required to update our, make sure that our DB plan is in line with all of the updates. So now that now that I've told you about the processes and how we're involved in the review of the various contracts, these are outreach activities. We're also responsible for outreach. So as I stated earlier, I'm very proactive in trying to encourage every firm and every business owner that I encounter that I feel is eligible to apply for certification to do so. Because with us doing our individual certification counseling appointments and our public outreach events, where we are meeting new minority and women-owned businesses, if we encourage them to get certified, that is increasing our pool of available firms that can participate on our PRT projects, which is also increasing our pool in our e-business, because all firms that wish to do business with PRT must be registered within our e-business system. So that is increasing the number of firms available, as well as increasing the pool of firms in our system.
However, for the record, it does not, because you're a certified company guarantee.
It does not, no, but it does.
Just because you're.
That is true, but they are also included in that list where that is issued out to the primes, so it is affording them a potential opportunity. Okay, and that is what we're here to try to afford potential opportunities.
Absolutely.
Okay,
How did you say that you do the outreach for certification and everything?
so we'll attend our MWTB Governmental Committee trade fair, which has this past year had 500 attendees. And so those are business owners that are coming. Many of them are not certified. So we have our table there. We explain that if you're interested in doing business with PRT, you must have this DB certification, especially if it's a federally funded project. Furthermore, if you're certified as a DBE, count towards the state funded, because DBEs are diverse businesses. So we are trying to encourage them. And you never know when an opportunity is going to present itself. I always tell them now, you never want to wait until an opportunity knocks on your door to try to get certified. You want to get certified prior, because the certification process does take a little time. The federal government gives us 90 days to process an application and make a determination. So you have that potential risk of losing out on that opportunity. So I always tell them, you want to be ready.
So with the certification, I know there's a lot of logistics to get things like that done. But when we're going to these outreach and we're giving information, do we actually have any paperwork, because these are the logistical process of it, more like.
Yes, we have the actual application and the personal net worth form in our packets there. We have the information brochure for the functions of our office. And we also tell them, stress to them, that we offer the individual certification counseling appointments to assist them with it. Because oftentimes they'll be overwhelmed just looking at the information. So then once we sit down with them, it's like, well, I can do this. And which has resulted, as you see the numbers, 39, I'm sorry, the outreach, I think we did 30 one-on-one counseling. We had 31 applications submitted just this year. So it correlates with each other. Okay? All right. So we have conducted our public outreach events. These are for 3-year statistics. We also are involved in a lot of committees that are dedicated to assisting small businesses, such as the MWT Governmental Committee, SPIA, which is for the engineers, our regulatory oversight committee meetings for the PAUCP. We also give presentations to various locations. I've given a location at the airport, for the Carpenters Union, for the steam fitters. They have their burning in the people that have graduated and that are going to start their businesses or starting businesses. And so I give them presentations on how to become certified. So anytime anyone asks, could you please give a presentation on certifications on there because I want to get as many firms certified. And then the last slide is our future outreach. We are planning on coordinating a vendor day with, upon your suggestion as well. And it will entail, it will have all of the departments and it will not only have, it will have upcoming opportunities as well. So that the firms will know of the potential opportunities available. We plan on having a quarterly meet and greet event with prime contractors and DBs as we are aware of projects that are coming down the pipe. We plan on having that on a quarterly basis. So that way they can meet and greet and the clients can get to know, oh, I didn't know that you did that. For the opportunity. We're also going to have quarterly workshops with DBs to register as vendors in e-business. And then we're also going to offer a DB database training for PRT staff. Because again, as I stated, while we are providing the list for various departments, if we educate our internal staff as well, that they can go, that'll be a resource that they can use to identify firms, especially for those smaller contracts that are under $10,000. And that concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
If you don't mind, if there's, because we have other agenda items, if any board members have any additional questions, we can address them to the staff in the future.
Please, yes, that's fine. Yes, please, but have them reach out to me as well. I'd be more than happy to talk to you with them. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, and it's great to see that they're doing such a great job here at PRT.
Thank you.
So that concludes our planning and stakeholders relations committee. I get a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I'd like to call to order the November 2024 PRT Finance Committee meeting. First up on the agenda is roll call. May all committee members announce yourself.
Emma Shuker.
Board members.
Jen
Jen
McClenny.
Liptak. Jen Liptak.
Stephanie Turner.
Bergener.
Bobby.
Lori
Bennett.
Mizgorski.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for the October 17th Finance Committee meeting. The meeting minutes for our last meeting have been circulated. Unless there are any questions, I'd like to ask for a motion to approve said minutes. Any questions? May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay, motion approved. Next up, we have PRT CFO, Dominica Brown, who is here to present on 4 proposed resolutions, starting with the authorization to approve Title VI analysis for the proposed Partner Pass program. Dominica?
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and fellow committee members. My name is Dominica Brown. I'm the Chief Financial Officer here at PRT. For this first authorization, PRT is pursuing a permanent pass program called Partner Pass. A step in that process is to comply with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and Port Authority of Allegheny County's Title VI program by conducting a fair equity analysis. The purpose of the analysis is to determine if a proposed fare structure change would result in a disparate impact to minority riders and or a disproportionate burden to low-income riders. To conduct the Title VI analysis, PRT engaged with its fare consultants, NWC Partners. NWC Partners utilized an average fare analysis and determined there was no disparate impact and no disproportionate burden with the partner program. For a full copy of the fair equity analysis, please reference Exhibit A to this resolution. And subject to any questions the committee members may have, I would respectfully request that the Finance Committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
May I have a motion to, any questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you.
all right, motion approved.
We gotta do that.
Moving on to
Uh,
the authorization to adopt and implement the Partner Pass program.
All righty, sorry for that interruption. This resolution is to adopt and implement the Partner Pass program. For a final review of the background for the Partner Pass program, PRT received a grant from the Heinz Endowments to conduct a pilot universal program. The pilot garnered positive results, which resulted in PRT's Board of Directors authorizing a public comment period. The public comment period, which ended on October 12th, was conducted for 60 days, and the comments received were generally in support of the program. The Partner Pass will be available to secondary and post-secondary schools not eligible for the UPass program, residential properties with 10 or more units, and employers with 10 or more eligible employees. With approval of this resolution, PRT will be authorized to adopt and implement the Partner Pass program effective January 1 or as soon as deemed feasible. Subject to any questions that committee members may have, I would respectfully request that the Finance Committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
Any questions from committee members or board members? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, thank you. Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion approved.
It can, I think you have to vote. We didn't call the ayes. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Think you, yeah, it's okay.
All
No
in
worries, no
favor, say
worries.
aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing no, motion approved. Moving on to the next authorization to appoint record keeper for defined contribution program.
All righty. So PRT seeks a record keeper to oversee contributions toward two separate plans that make up the defined contribution program, or RDC program. That is the 457B program and the 401A program. PRT worked with its board-appointed chief investment officer for the DC program and developed a request for proposal. The RFP was advertised and 7 responsive proposals received in March of this calendar year. To evaluate the responses, PRT convened an evaluation committee of 6 members from HR, Finance, and ATU Local 85 leadership. The committee determined that Lincoln Financial, Voya, and Empower Retirement Services were the most responsive. After conducting interviews with those 3 listed companies, the committee selected Empower Retirement Services as the highest rated proposer. This resolution would authorize PRT to appoint Empower Retirement Services as our record keeper. Subject to any questions that committee members may have, I would respectfully request that the Finance Committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
Do we have any questions from committee or board members? Hearing none, I request a motion to approve the authorization to appoint a record keeper for defined contribution program. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion approved. Moving on to the authorization to adopt an amended and restated money purchase pension plan document. All members should have received the red line version of this document via email. And then I'll move it over to Dominica Brown.
Right. So, in September of 2011, PRT established an IRS Code Section 401A plan, formerly known as the Port Authority of Allegheny County Money Pension Plan. Members of the pension committee were previously authorized to execute and deliver instruments necessary to implement the money purchase plan. Since its establishment, the authorized committee has adopted amendments and rule changes as necessary to the plan. PRT's current record keeper, Mission Square, has prepared plan amendments and supplements to document the changes and amendments to the plan. In June of this year, additional amendments were made to the plan due to a collective bargaining agreement made with transit. This resolution will allow PRT to amend and restate the money purchase plan to incorporate all provisions in a single document. The proposed amended plan document is included as Appendix A to this resolution. So subject to any questions that committee members may have, I would respectfully request that the Finance Committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
Do we have any questions from board or committee members? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve the authorization to adopt and amend and restate the Money Merchants Pension Plan document to the full board.
So,
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion approved. Next up, we'll have a review of the October 2024 financial statements.
Okay. So finally, for a review of our passenger revenue trends, the month of October finished with actual passenger revenue over budgeted amounts by about $150,000. For the month of October, revenues were about $200,000 higher than budgeted, and that is due to interest income and higher than budgeted fares. Expenses for the month of October were about $1.7 million less than the budgeted amounts, and that is due to lower purchase services and wages and benefits. Subsidies for the month of October were about $700,000 higher than budgeted, and that is due to increased state operating assistance. And for year-to-date October, revenues were about $200,000 higher than budgeted. That is primarily due to interest income. Expenses for the year-to-date October were about $12.1 million less than budgeted amounts, and that is primarily again due to purchase services as well as lower materials and wages and benefits. Subsidies as of October year-to-date were $14.4 million higher than budgeted, and that is due to invoicing the remainder of our federal stimulus funds as well as higher state operating assistance. A review of our operating reserves as of October. The month started with $351.9 million in operating reserves. There were cash inflows of about $25 million, cash outflows of about $48.2 million, and the month was ended with $328.7 million in operating reserves. And that is the end of the review of the financial statements. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dominica. Hearing no questions, this concludes the Finance Committee meeting for November. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
So,
Second? All right. The Finance Committee meeting for November 2024 is now adjourned.
Good morning. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Performance Oversight Committee. First is our roll call. Other members of this committee, could you please identify yourselves?
Lori Mizgorski,
Other board members, could you please identify yourselves?
Ally Doyle.
Stephanie Turner.
Tom Burdick.
Jen Liptak? Jen Liptak?
Bobby, yeah. Emma Schuker.
The minutes from the October meeting of this committee have been circulated. Unless anyone has any questions or corrections, I'll ask for a motion to approve those minutes. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carried. Our first proposed resolution for awarding of the bids is awarding of the bids. Jeffrey Devlin, could you please report on this resolution?
Yes, good morning to all. I do have three bids for your consideration this morning. The first one, B240988A. This is for uniforms for our operators, supervisors, and maintenance crew folks. What we had were 213 suppliers notified, 6 suppliers accepting this bid, 4 bids received. This is for a 2-year period with a 1-year renewal option available. We are recommending that the bid be awarded to Work America, the uniform company, in an estimated total of $3,023,000 and $150. Get that straight next time. Again, this is for a 2-year period with a 1-year. Are there any questions on that? Take a look. Our second one is a change order for leasing and servicing of Coach Tower tires. I'm going to start over here this morning. No, it's not working. So 3 years ago, the board authorized a contract with Michelin North America Incorporated for the leasing and servicing of Coach tires. That was for a 3-year term with one option of a 2-year option. The contract was performed well to date. Through this initial term of the contract, and our staff wishes to exercise this option period, as I noted, which is for another 2 years. So our recommendation is the contract be amended with Michelin North America Incorporated to exercise this option period with an additional amount of $4,798,236. This would bring the total not to exceed of this 5-year contract to $11,486,264. This does represent the contracted rates. Staff has determined the prices are fair and reasonable and is consistent with the funds budget. Our third bid is for police interceptors. This is for 5 new vehicles for our police to replace vehicles that are exceeding their useful service life. Our Pennsylvania Commonwealth Department of General Services has a co-stars program, has awarded a contract of 013-E23-302 for emergency responder vehicles. The agency is requesting that we purchase 5 vehicles from Whitmire Ford Incorporated for an estimated total of $220,000. Staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable. Are there any questions on those 2 bids? Subject to any further conversation, I respectfully request that these be taken to the full board for approval. Thank you.
Does any board member have questions for Mr. Devlin? May I have a motion to advance these resolutions to the full board?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. The next resolution is a request for authorization to extend an amend agreement with Willis Towers Watson US LLC to provide employee benefits consulting services. Inez Falon, could you kindly present this resolution?
Yes, good morning, everyone. As I stated earlier, the resolution is to expand and amend the agreement R2008 with Willis Towers Watson US LLC to provide employee benefits consulting services. Some of those services include performing strategic planning of employee benefits, underwriting analysis and actuarial services. And the most important one is analyzing claims experience and its financial impact. there are others that's in your packet. In November 2020, Pittsburgh Board authorized the award with an additional 3-year term for a total not to exceed amount of $825,000 for task work orders. The agreement also contained 2 option years to be exercised at PRT's sole discretion. On November 16, 2023, Pittsburgh exercised the first option, extending the agreement term to February 28, 2025, increasing the total authorized not to exceed amount by $275,000 or $1,100,000. PRT has once again determined it is in our best interest to exercise the second option year, extending the agreement to February 28, 2026, and increasing the total not to exceed amount by $333,200 or $1,433,200 for services to be continued. Madam Chair, I respectfully request your approval of this resolution to be advanced to the full board. Are there any questions?
Does any board member have questions for Ms. Kalan? May I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
So moved.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 And
Aye.
any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next resolution is a request for authorization to amend nepotism, patronage, and conflicts of interest in hiring and employment policy. Mike Sutra, could you kindly present this resolution?
Yes, good morning, Committee Chair Plenty, committee members of the board members. This resolution would authorize PRT to amend its nepotism, patronage, and conflicts of interest in hiring and employment policy. The policy was originally adopted by our board in November of 1996 and was most recently amended in July of 2018. And it provides various standards, limitations, and prohibitions regarding employment of relatives of PRT board members and existing PRT managers, along with conflict of interest limitations on managers being in the same chain of command or line of authority as a relative or close personal relationship. As we do on a routine basis in reviewing our policies, management and legal counsel have reviewed this policy recently and are recommending that it be further amended to address situations where a manager is in a position and has a relative or close personal relationship who's represented by a union picked into their division chain of command or line of authority through a collectively bargained picking process. The proposed amendments would provide in those situations that would not be considered a conflict of interest. Where there's in those situations or where there's 3 layers of authority between that manager and employee. However, in both situations, the manager would be required to sign an equitable law agreement that would be approved by PRT's CEO, Chief Human Resources Officer, and me to confirm they would not be involved in any employment-related decisions relating to that relative or close personal relationship. The other policy amendments are focused on administrative updates, primarily to reflect the agency is now doing business as Pittsburgh Regional Transit. A copy of the proposed amended policy is attached to the resolution in your packets as Exhibit 1, and subject to any questions that members would have, committee members or other board members would have, I respectfully request that the committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval. And I would just add, if recommended by the committee and approved by or the effective date of the amendment policy would be December 1st, 2024. Thank you.
Does any board member have questions for Mrs. Sarah Sutra? I do have a question myself.
Sure.
Could you repeat what you had mentioned about management and 3 people in between and then signing the applicant?
Yes, sure. So basically, what would be amended here to clarify would not be a conflict if an employee picks through a collective bargaining process into a manager's existing chain of command, or if they're already in their chain of command and there's 3 levels of supervision between that manager and that employee. However, in both of those situations, the manager would be required to sign an equitable law agreement, which would essentially cut them out of any employment-related decisions relating to that employment, both good and bad. and delegate those to another manager in their chain, or if necessary, up to the CHRO, myself, or the CEO.
Okay. And you're saying when they're hired, it's hired by or something third party, or someone third party, and then if they happen to be in that chain of command, there's people in between the.
That's correct. Like, for instance, you could have a deputy in a division and someone, say they're a deputy in the maintenance division, and through the collective bargaining process with Local 85, they have for the employee who may have been originally hired outside of the division, but they pick move to that division. If we have three managers between them and that employee, there would be a conflict. Or again, if they pick in, we would have this memo that makes sure under any circumstance, they would be involved in any employee related decisions for that employee, whether it's future promotions, raises, or something on the disciplinary side, it would be delegated to another manager. If you're welcome.
Does anyone else board members have questions for Mr. Petra? May I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
The next and final resolution is a request for authorization to adopt and implement the fiscal year 2025 to 26 internal audit work. Mike Setra, could you kindly present this resolution?
Yes, thank you. The second resolution I have for committee's consideration would authorize the adoption of our next 18-month work plan. In accordance with our board adopted internal audit department charter, our internal audit group led by Director of Internal Audit, Hifzi Zahari, conducts various PRT audits of financial and business procedures and records, and they do that under 18-month work plans. To continue these, our current work plan is going to expire at the end of this year. So to continue these efforts, what is before the committee this morning is a proposed new 18-month work plan that would begin January 1st, 2025, and run through June 30th, 2026. A copy of that work plan is attached to the resolution of your committee meeting packets as Exhibit A. And in particular, if you look at page 8, that provides a good summary of what audits would be performed over this next 18-month period. And they're basically organized into 4 categories. Audits that are already in progress, audits required by law. We have our PennDOT State Safety Oversight representatives this morning. So one of those is auditing elements of our safety and security plans, or our Buy America audits when we order buses. Other audits that are based upon risk assessment or management request, and there's an appendix in the work plan that shows how those assessments are conducted and rated, and then other direct audit activities, or maybe special projects, et cetera, that come up during the year for the auditors that may be requested by management, including they also maintain their certifications. This resolution would again authorize the adoption of this next 18-month work plan, reserve on the board the ability to make material amendments to it, but allow designated management to make non-material amendments to ensure audits are completed at the time they hit. So again, subject to any member questions, I would respectfully request that the committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
Does any board member have questions for Mr. Setra? May I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
Motion.
So moved.
Is
Second.
there a second?
Uh,
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Next, we will have a presentation from representatives of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation, who will present on the State Safety Oversight Agency Program Annual Presentation. Thank you for being here. Please proceed.
And yes, Chairman Clevey, I usually do a long-winded introduction, but I know we're running long today, so I'm just going to turn it right over to the PennDOT team and thank them for being here and their work with us.
All right, thank you. Thank you for having us this morning, distinguished members of the board. Catherine, we're happy to be here to speak with you this morning on some of the highlights and efforts of 2024. So we got a quick agenda. I'm not going to go through all that because we're kind of pressed for time here, but these are some of the things that we're going to cover. Okay, the Jefferson highlights. There were 8 triennial audits that the SSO has scheduled, 7 of which have been conducted so far. We have 1 more remaining in December. There were 16 internal audits that were completed. There's 17 scheduled. We got 1 more. The SSO would like to commend PRT for their efforts towards closing 20 caps during the year. The caps are the corrective action plans that come out or the result of the audits. We approved PRT's SEEP plan, the Security and Emergency Preparedness Plan. We informally approved PRT's PTASK. There was a full scale exercise conducted at the Lawn Incline, which was very productive. We got the AAO report from that, and looks like there was a lot of good lessons learned out of that. Another good thing going on is there's a downward trend in the events and accidents in PRT. State safety oversight updates. 49 CFR Part 674, updated October 2024. That goes into effect January 25. There are a lot of things. I'm just going to keep it high level. There's a lot of things that go into that, a lot of changes with the SSO inspections, the RDI program, and there's a lot of different legislation that kind of changed, gave the SSOA more authority to come in and do unannounced inspections, but PRT has worked with us and has put their language, the RBI language in the PTASK for this year. Some of the terminology, things like instead of calling an accident or an incident, they changed it to a safety event. So those are just some of the changes that are in 674. There are a lot more, but I don't want to bore you with the details. Some reporting thresholds. There's certain things that are no longer going to be required for notification. Program standard updates. As I said, the RVI program, the timelines for notification for triennial audits, inspections, field reviews, caps, and whatnot. Again, accidents are now referred to as safety events. A COOP, continuity of operations plan. That's in section 4.6.5 of the program standard. And I do believe PRT has a plan in place, but the program standard just now requires it. It establishes a plan and procedures for emergency situations to restore your limited operating capabilities during emergency situations should they occur. Again, the SEEP has been approved. The PTASK, it's been formally and informally approved. We're just waiting on signatures. Public transportation safety certification training program enrollment and recertification requirements. That's a mouthful. I'm sorry there, but it requires that anybody that is designated in a safety oversight role or a safety role, they have to, within 30 days of designation, enroll with the FTA through TSI to start conducting their individual training program for the PTSCTP. You have 3 years to complete that. Once that's done, there's refresher training. Recertification training, let's call it. There are 2 elements that are required. One specific recertification training defined by the FTA, which hasn't been spelled out quite yet. And then recertification training defined by the Rail Transit Agency. And that must include 1 hour of safety oversight training. Also SMS awareness training for the accountable executive. So, Catherine, I'm sure you've heard about it, been through it, and are all over it. Because the SMS, it's a top-down approach on safety management systems. And, you know, I can see here at PRT, you know, by being here over the years, just knowing a lot of the folks in the room, it definitely is a top-down approach, and you have the support from the, you know, the top down. So thank you for that. Safety risk reduction program. That's another change. It's going to be in a program. That's 49 CFR 673. I'm not going to bore you with that because there's a lot of changes to it and a lot of updates. Some of the capital projects and safety certification. Now, there's a lot of projects going on. I realize that, but only some of them fall under the realm of safety certification. One of which would be the automatic trip stop replacement, because it's a different system being put in. And I understand that Hitachi is working with PRT to get through some of the issues with that, but that we were just on an audit last week and it's moving along. The capital projects now, there's a list in progress. Training requirements for project managers, which state safety oversight will be providing training to a lot of the project managers, and that's scheduled to be on 12/5 of this year. We're going to meet with project managers and other folks from PRT to put on a training class for what safety certification is. And also, the state safety oversight is in the process of developing and revising the J form for clarity and for clarity and safety certification. That's the I believe it's Appendix J in the program standard. Back here. Just to show you, there's the triennial audits that were conducted. You can see here the events that were reported in investigations. That's our 21, 22, 23, and 24. You definitely are looking at a downward trend. So that's a good thing. I mean, it's always a good thing to be going in that direction and not the other direction. So thank you for that. Just shows you a different a list of the PRT types of events that we've had in 23 and 24. And again, split out by 22, 23, and 24, you can definitely see where the downward trend is. Some of the current and upcoming initiatives. The FTA Safety Advisory, 22-2. That's a FTA put out a safety advisory to all the rail transit agencies to do a safety assessment of your signaling systems. I believe PRT was given an extension till 12/31 of this year to have that report completed and turned in. Also, a FTA general directive this year, 24-1, and that's near and dear to all our hearts. That's just an assessment to look at your transit operators and assaults upon the transit operators. So that's something that, I mean, everybody is really on board with that. Because you're going to do an assessment, there are certain required actions that the RTAs have to do. One of which is a safety assessment on the operators, the environment, and their trends. Are there a lot of assaults? If there are, what mitigations are you going to take to minimize and eliminate those? Updates to program standards to reflect the 49 CFR Part 672, 73, and 74. PennDOT and FTA triennial audit. Okay, that one was canceled. That was supposed to be the 19th to the 26th in Philadelphia, but it's been canceled by the FTA. It'll be rescheduled next year sometime. PennDOT SOPs, they were updated and finalized and distributed to the RTAs. There's just our standard operating procedures. SSO 101 training is going to be conducted by SSO for the RTAs. And as I mentioned before, we got safety certification training December 5th here at Port Authority. And we'll have it for out of CAM training. It just gives everybody a better idea of the whole safety certification process, what it is, how to do it, and why it's important. And the last thing here, the RBI submission. SSO has submitted our RBI program to the FDA. It's waiting certification. We've got comment back on it. We responded back to them, so we're waiting. I'd say maybe any day or a week for them to come back to us and say, okay, the plan's good, it's certified, put in your standards and move forward, and then start implementing the plan. I mean, it's not something that you get certified and we sit on. It's something we're going to start on immediately. And for closing remarks, I'm going to have Beth Benini, our division chief from PennDOT, come up. Closing remarks and any questions. And also, I'm sorry, I'm remiss. I wanted to introduce Dylan Lawson. He's our safety analyst with PRA, who's contracted with PennDOT. So thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Beth Benini. I work at PennDOT. I'm the director of our State Safety Oversight Office. I just have a couple of closing remarks. One, to thank the PRT leadership, to thank you as the committee and the board members, and of course, to thank the police and the System Safety Office that are boots on the ground and that are doing, working with us and collaborating with us on a day-to-day basis. Mike brought up a lot of changes that have been occurring both on the federal and state level with risk-based inspections, with changes to your public transportation agency safety plan, with training requirement changes that the federal government has placed on the state safety oversight agencies. In addition, and I'm not sure that we mentioned this, but just October 31st, the federal government came out with their very first safety specific regulation for roadway worker protection. This is a brand new thing for all of us, but it will be it's now a national standard of how each and every rail transit agency will have to address roadway worker protection and protecting employees on the rail. So we are working with the transit agencies. Again, this just came out at the end of October, but it will be a part of a larger transition that we're making in our program standard in addition to what Mike brought up earlier. As a part of all of the federal changes, we've had to make some state changes. So we updated our state legislation. We made a change or a modification to Title 74. It's Act 91 of 2024. It's just passed in July of this year. And that ensures that we're able to have all of the authorities that the federal government requires us to have at the state safety oversight in Pennsylvania. So with that being passed, we've created a brand new office, the director of that state safety oversight office, and we're now hiring additional staff. So we'll have one more person in addition to Michael and Dylan that we'll be hiring on, and we're adding 2 more people in Philadelphia, in addition to a multitude of consultant staff that we have us running this program. I would like to offer, and we've offered this before, but if anyone on the board would like any additional information about state safety oversight, we do offer a State Safety Oversight 101 course. So it explains who we are, what we do, how we are involved with the authority on a day-to-day basis, and how we're overseeing your safety. So we'd like to offer that again. If anyone is interested, just please reach out to Mike or Michael, and we're happy to get that scheduled. Thank you so much for your time, and we're happy to take any questions.
Yeah. Does any board member have any questions of PennDOT concerning the presentation? Thanks once again for the presentation. Thank you. That's the end of the agenda for the committee today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned.
See you downstairs.
Good morning. This is Lori Mizgorski, and I would like to call to order the meeting of the Technology Committee for Thursday, November 14th. Would members of the committee please identify themselves? Okay, I must be it. Other members who are present?
Peter McClenny.
Stephanie Furman.
Tom Burger.
Emily Doyle.
Emma Schuker.
Okay, I may need some help with some of this voting. Okay, so we did not have a technology committee meeting in October, but the September minutes were circulated. And unless we have any questions or corrections, I will ask for a motion to approve. Can I get a motion?
Well, and
Okay.
I'm sorry, Lori, this is Jen. I am here at the meeting. I apologize.
Okay, all
But I'll
right.
make
Well,
the motion.
okay, thank you. Thank you. And may I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Is Tom there? I thought I heard him say his name. Okay, because you
Tom
are a
Burger,
committee.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So all those in favor of approving the minutes? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, well, first we have some approval of bid awards with Mr. Jeffrey Devlin. Please provide your report.
Thank you, and good morning again. So 3 years ago, our technology infrastructure group implemented an upgraded file storage, backup and recovery, included both hardware, equipment, and software. It has been working very well for these past 3 years. It is from a manufacturer by the name of Cohesity. What we are requesting at this time is 3 additional years of hardware and software support, which will take us through December of 2027. This is being purchased through a CoStar's agreement. We were actually able to get 3 different bids for this, and we're able to determine the prices were all fair and reasonable for them. Our recommendation today is that this bid be awarded to the AEC Group LLC in an estimated total of $545,729.70. Again, this is for a 3-year renewal and continued use of our backup recovery and file storage systems. Subject to any questions, I respectfully request that this be taken to the full board for approval. Thank you.
Do any board members have questions? May I have a motion to advance this resolution to the full board?
Motion.
A second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. All right, we have some additional resolutions, one being the authorization to extend and amend agreement with Hitachi Rail STS Inc. for the automatic trip stop system for light rail vehicles. Eric Bilski, will you present that, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone. You correctly titled the resolution, so I won't reread that for the sake of the time. To provide a little background for this resolution, this was originally awarded in 2018 for the trip stop system for the light rail system. This is an RFID tag based system, and in the next slide, I'll give you a little more information about what that is. But basically, it replaces a 35-year-old system that was currently out on the line, and we're progressing well on the project.
This system will enhance the safety and reliability of the system. It controls the speed and enforces red signals so that if the signal is red on the rail line, this system would obviously detect that and trip the train, would stop it and apply the brakes if that event occurred. This agreement expires in December of this year, and the current authorized not to exceed amount is $22,339,652.63. I did show on this slide on the right side a system map where this system is being replaced at. It is implemented along primarily our red line from South Hills Village north to the end of line at Allegheny Station. Some of that section obviously overlaps with our silver and blue lines that progress to downtown and to the North Shore. Other parts of the line, blue line, Overbrook already have a speed and signal enforcement system in place that was part of our stage 2 line. So they're not part of this project. And then the library silver line, the board authorized a hybrid ATS system along that line in library, and that's currently being implemented. Next slide, please. So currently Hitachi has completed the design, the safety review, and the implementation of the wayside equipment, and also all the vehicle fleet has been equipped with the equipment. We need additional time for Hitachi to address an unforeseen condition that was experienced on the wayside equipment and the circuitry, which is in essence the reason I'm here today presenting this resolution to you. The new completion date for this agreement would extend 1 year to December 11th of 2025. Additionally, this would increase the authorized not to exceed amount by $500,000 to a new total not to exceed amount of $22,839,652.63. As I mentioned, I did want to just briefly describe to you the system and what it's comprised of. The RFID tag, which I displayed in a picture at the bottom, is basically, if you think about it, Easy Pass on the turnpike, which communicates through RFID signal, and that's essentially what this system does. And I also showed equipment on board the vehicle, some of the back end equipment that the vehicle uses, the computer and the brains in the vehicle that processes the signals. So with that, pending any further questions, I respectfully request this committee advance this resolution to the full board for approval.
Yes, thank you. I have a question, provided this motion passes the full board. And how long will it take you to implement the replacement of the ATS system?
So the equipment and the vehicles have already been totally replaced. This additional extension will provide us the additional time necessarily to take care of the situation that we discovered on the wayside equipment. So we're
okay. So you don't have to actually install anymore. Okay.
Yeah, we will have some work to do on the wayside still, but the amount of time that we're projecting will be done within the next year, and hopefully sooner than that. We're hoping that within 6 months or so we can complete it, but we are requesting a full year just in case. And this would also be subject to the Federal Transit Administration requirements as well, in compliance with their regulations for time extensions on these agreements.
Okay. Do any other board members have questions? Thank you. Oh, hearing none, I will, may I have a motion to advance this to the full board?
Motion.
A second. Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. All right,
Thank you.
and now we have another resolution. Mr. Devlin, I think you're coming back for that.
Yes, and good morning for the third and final time. I can take us home here today. So I have three resolutions for your consideration. The first one is an amendment with R2001, which is our data center hosting and managed security services. We entered into this contract 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, actually, now that I think about it. And this is really where the hub of our operations lives offsite with ideal integrations. We are requesting to enter in the second and final option year extension that was originally written into this contract for an additional amount as written in the contract of $1,313,656.08. Got my mouth working in between times there. This would bring the new total not to exceed for this overall on this service, $6,568,280.40. As I noted, this is for where our servers are hosted, our data center. They also run a managed information security service for us at ideal integration. So subject to any questions on this particular resolution, I respectfully request that this be taken to the full board.
Do any members have questions? Hearing none, may I have a motion to move this to the full board?
Motion.
Second.
Second, thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you. We're ready for the next one.
Thank you. On this one, this is for an upgrade and replacement of our phone system. I do have an image of a phone there. I think when I started my career, this might be what Alexander Graham Bell put in place for us. Our system isn't quite this old, but it has definitely reached its end of useful life. So we are very excited to get moving with this project. I see some nods in the room here. So we released an RFP for this project in August of 2024. We did receive 6 really excellent proposals, and they were reviewed per the board adopted policy. Our request recommendation today is that this be awarded to WWT Incorporated, which is doing business as VoIP Networks. They are a Mitel Platinum reseller. And I have to admit, as a CIO, I've been around a few phone systems, familiar with Mitel, but I was very surprised that they won this, that Mitel won this bid. It's a really quality system, and we're very excited to implement it. The not to exceed on this one would be an even $1 million. And the contract is for an initial 3 years with 2 option years beyond that. Subject to any questions on this particular resolution, I respectfully request this be presented to the full board.
Do any members have questions? Okay, hearing none. Do I have a motion to advance this to the full board? And a second? Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you.
And our
One
third and
more
final
vote, one more resolution.
third and final resolution for the morning. As you may remember, back in February, I believe, we brought to you a contract request for Flowbird to buy 81 new fair vending machines. And that is to replace our existing fleet and BRT Stage 1. Well, we're excited now that BRT Stage 2 and 3 are moving at such pace that we are requesting to amend this agreement with Flowbird for 19 additional units, which will cover the stations in BRT Stage 2 and 3. So this amendment would, as I said, bring in 19 additional fair vending machines at a price tag for these ones of $1,824,626.73 for a new total not to exceed overall for all of these fair vending machines in this phase of $11,566,201.02. I don't know what the 2 cents will buy us, but as it stands, subject to any questions, I'd respectfully request that this be presented to the full board. Yes, this does include service and maintenance on it. Yes, it does.
Thank you. This is exciting news. Do we have any other questions? Okay, hearing none. May I have a motion to advance this to the full board?
Motion.
A
Second.
second, please. Thank you. All those in favor signify, whoops, any discussion on the motion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion carries and we'll go to the full board. All right, I believe that's the end of the resolutions for today. And this is the last committee of the day and also the last committee for 2024. There will not be a committee meetings in December. So we will see you again in January of 2025 for committee meetings, but we will see you next week for our regular meeting. Thank you.